What's up, troop? Thank you very much for following along with this track from scratch. I really hope you're learning loads along the way. So the phase right now, I've got intro done, I've got like a main drop, got an alternate drop with just a bass line and things going on, and then filters out into a nice like breakdown. That should be plenty for you guys to take the track and really be able to build your own thing. We've got every single element, we can switch it up and mix it up as much as we want. I don't want to build an entire track and say, this is it, this is what you got to go for. Let's leave it open to interpretation. You've got all the skills now to build it out as you like. What we're going to do in this section is I'm going to do what I call the creative mixing stage. I'm not trying to get a perfect balance. I'm not leveling out the track. I'm not doing detailed EQing. What I'm looking to do is create more interesting sounds. So I'm going to do things like look at the bass line, maybe add distortion, look at some auxiliaries and things like that, and potentially some reverb buses and delay buses, things like that. The creative stuff, the little bits of flair that make a sound a little bit more interesting, rather than the detailed pulling down set frequencies and EQs and things like that. That is going to come later because that really helps us get our track separation. So let's get in Logic and crack on.
Feeling heavy, but now I'm steady, going up from hitting the ground.
All right, squad. So the first thing I want to have a look at is this guy right here. Oh, it's a cool sound. It rips and tears. It does its job flat out. If we pull up our mixer, we can see that for the most part, right, I've not really done anything in terms of channels. I've got like some gain on there. There's a couple of important EQs for particular things that need to happen, but you know, there's nothing on here. They're raw alchemy channels for the most part still, and yeah, there's no going on mix wise. There's this default auxiliary over here with Space Designer and EQ on that doesn't get used. It just appeared when we added the drummer, and you know, that's it. But I'm going to look at doing some fun things with this bass line, and I want to keep it like ripping and tearing in the middle like it does. Want to make sure we've still got the fundamentals for it in the center, and we should have a little bit of fun with it and see what we can do. So one of the first things I'm going to do, I'm just going to bash an EQ on it. I'm also going to bash a compressor on it, and I'm going to take the compressor so the threshold's at 0. It's not going to be doing anything from the offset, and neither is the EQ, but I'll probably use them. And I'm going to send this off to a new bus where I'm going to try some like parallel distortion and things like that on it as well. So let's just give it its new bus, and we'll just go to 8. Again, let's keep a gap between things. We'll call this dist, and it's only really going to be related probably to the bass. So we're just going to grab our color palette here, and we're just going to mark it off the same color, just so at a glance we know what it's attached to. So now if I send it over here, we've doubled up in level. On this bus here, which I'm going to solo in, we are going to have a play around with something to try and add a little bit of flair and detail to this sound. And the reason I got it on a bus is then I can just mix and blend the two together. At the moment, we're just listening to its auxiliary. So let's go into our plugin. Let's go down to Logic. And a good place to start is probably going to be the Fat Effects. This was added at the same time as Alchemy. And it's just a nifty little tool for crunching up sounds, essentially. Like, to break it down, everything's named pretty simply, and you can see what you're doing on the interface, but then the order of it is all organized at the bottom here, and I can switch them on and off and rearrange them. So if I was to switch, say, the filter on, you see it activates at the bottom, but I can actually put the filter right at the end if I want to. So we're going to use that just to basically destroy this sound, I think. I'm going to turn off most things. We're going to switch that filter over to be a high pass. Add a bit of noise with a bit of crush there. If you want to change the order of the distortion, you can just change what each control does. And the vary drive's way nicer. Let's hit that down. In fact, we're going to put the bit crush at the end. And we'll have that vary drive up here. Alright, let's bring the bass back as well. I can dial that back a bit. Nice, here's what we got. What we're adding. We can maybe bring that up a little bit higher, even past sort of the 500, so it's just the high end. I could use the resonance to boost it and listen to where it's cutting off. There, around 800 is kind of cool. I like the bass enhancer, we've taken all the low end out, so there's no need to have it in, we'll get rid of it. Compressor wise, vintage VCA. Really long release on it. Flatten it out. I don't think we need to use the bandpass because the filter is doing most of what we're doing. Adds a nice bit of distortion. Now what I'm going to do, you'll probably think it's really weird, we're going to go into Reverb, and I'm going to use Chroma Verb, and I'm just going to get rid of these points, so you can just hold down Option, click the points, and it'll reset them for us. Yeah, obviously way too much. I'm going to switch the pre-delay on, bring it down to the absolute min. Size, drop that down a touch. And decay, make that quite short. Yeah, I am putting reverb on this top end, distort a bit of the bass. Mix a bit of the dry in. Alright, so that's all pure effect. Let's switch the details. I want all the highs in. I'm going to roll the lows out again though. I just don't want any of the lows basically. I'm going to give that a bump again like this. You can really hear what we're doing. Somewhere around there is kind of nice. So pair it up with the bass. Now I can use the control here just to decide how much of it. So we've got this here. We can just bring that effect in. Now, I can tell straight away that the bit crush is doing too much noise. I'm going to dial that right back. I think that's a decent enough balance there. You know, take it away, you miss it. It's just adding some vibe to it, right? Okay, on the EQ, I'm literally going to do a low roll off, like 24 dB, and let's just keep an eye. I think the lowest tone really is going to be around the 80, so I can probably bring this up as high as 50. We don't really want that there. I think we're going to put a sub in just to replace that, maybe. So yeah, we can bring that up there, and just roll off that tone there we don't need. Take that off again. Yeah, it's just giving some crazy phasing. I like it. The compressor, I'm going to keep the platinum digital because it is super clean, like 3.5, something like that. Take the auto gain off. I'm just going to dial this back just to control it. So where we've got some of the cross automation happening, it does just peak up a little bit. So this is just going to be there as control, really. Go a bit slower on the attack, maybe like 40 or so. And 87 on the release. And it's just there to control those flare-ups, right? I'm not even going to necessarily add that gain back in, I'll just give it 1 dB back. Maybe 1.5, because that's about the average it's taking out. Let's just check everything in context, of course. So bear in mind the track isn't balanced. I just want to, does it sound cool? And if it sounds cool, then we're heading in the right direction. We can fix the details in the mix later. Right, so the other thing now is a compressor here. I'm going to do a very similar level of control, so sort of like 3.5, auto gain off, nice and slow on the attack, slowish, or even slower here on the release. And we're just going to dial this back till we start catching that by a couple of dB. And yeah, it doesn't matter if it's taking a decibel out or two all the time, it's that it catches those sudden jumps. Look, I say sudden, you know, it's got 35 milliseconds, a really quick like snap will get through, but if it's suddenly rising up in level for a significant amount of time, that's going to be catching it. And you see, then it went to like -5, when most of the time it's taking about a decibel out. Now, because I can control that with this, I'll look at it later in the mix and decide the balance, but roughly for now, that seems cool to me. All right, so that's definitely given us something to play with. We've just done some very basic control. You know, we're not cutting frequencies out. We're just going for a sound that we're interested in and we like. So this little thing at the end, what do we do with this? Okay, we've got a delay on there, haven't we? That's cool. We like that. In terms of like all these instruments, I think we can probably give them their own space. I might just make a reverb bus for them. Let's just grab all of them in context real quick. So you can just hold shift and do the whole lot and then hit solo and it'll get all of them for us. Like I say, I always just press U to loop around what we've got. You know what, I think that group can actually have its own bus. We'll call it like all inst. So while they're all selected, we just go down to here. Again, with me and my spacing of the buses, I'm going to call you alt inst. And what we'll do, if we just have these two selected, when we bring our color chart up, it will show me the colors, and I can just do that and it will color both of the same, which is dead useful. Really need to start using the shortcut for color palettes. What would it be? It'd be option C. Probably won't remember that. I just go into there each time. All right, so now this will contain all of these. We're going to call it Rev Del, which for me is just a reverb delay. I'm not going to color it because I might use this for other things as well. And what we're going to do on here is we use Space Designer, Chrome Reverb. It doesn't really matter. I like Chrome Reverb. Some people don't. You know, needs must. Like, use what you like. I find it so flexible and useful. That's what we're going to roll with. Now, I'm not going to use the bus just here. We're going to solo out our wood blocks. And we're going to send them to that reverb. Now, first off, that sounds cool. Let's switch this to smooth space. Yeah, that kind of gives us that delay feel. In details, I am going to pretty much box it off so that we've got no high end. Just change the Q and change the slope. Oh, really? Can we not have an 18 dB? All right, fine. We'll do that. In terms of the size, I quite like that. Pre-delay, I'm going to sync it to the track. So 1/64. By the way, it's working. To try out the distance. So much I'm going to dial that back. The decay, let's sync the decay to the track as well. 1 bar is maybe a bit much. Let's do 1/2. All right, how is it? Take it away. I mean, it's cool. I like it. Again, level-wise, like we may as well wait till the whole rest of the track's balanced before we really like start tackling that. but it's got an effect in the sound and the feel that I like. We leave it there, we'll roll with it. We've built that bus, it's cool. And there's potentially other things we can put in there as well. I mean, maybe. Let's go, so it's on bus 14. Yeah, definitely needs to come back a bit. I like the way it's giving it its own space, it's nice. I think something else we're going to do here, like I say, we looked at the EQ, everything's pretty well controlled. I am just going to be sure that there's nout going on in the low end, because I want the space for the bass and the drums to be there basically. So I'm going to take it to about 120. If you remember, that's roughly where our like kick was hitting around. And it just gives it that space, it guarantees it's there for it. You know, there's some instance where it's popping up there. It's now guaranteed that's clear for us. We're just going to leave that in there. I'm going to glue them together a little bit with a compressor. I like the Studio Fet a lot. I use this compressor a hell of a lot. I'm going to keep it super, super lean. Like 1/3 there. Quite percussive sounds, like 50 milliseconds is probably all right. Around 51 is probably okay. Yeah, around 2 dB markers, sticking everything together nicely. I think that pretty much levels it out for the like creative elements we're going to look to add. The big thing for me was having that extra like texture and uniqueness added to that bass line. Even though we built it in Alchemy, we got the sound that we like out of it. What we're going to do in the next video is I'm going to show you how to get a balance, or at least how I approach getting the balance. But what I will do is probably tell you or show you the tracks that I like to use if you don't follow the channel and don't know them already. And yeah, we'll look to get a nice solid balance of the track, then we'll get the detailed separation and mixing, and then we're pretty much there, guys. Let's go.